Hey family, this is just a short check-in to spark your faith and fuel your fight. Every battle may seem bigger than your strength, but never bigger than our God. Stand firm, trust Him, and watch Him turn struggles into stories of victory. If these videos are helping you, like, subscribe, comment, and share so others can find fresh strength. Your support means everything to me, and I really appreciate you. Now, let's dive into it. A few minutes for us underdogs and strugglers in the Bible. My name is Tony Lewis, and here I am again, y'all. And it's my plum-pleasing pleasure, as usual, to share with you today a few minutes for us. The U is for underdogs, and the S is for strugglers in the Bible. Let me tell you about the 34 biblical characters we will look at today. It's Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They stood with a saving God. They stood with a saving God. Let me tell you about their story. It's in Daniel chapter 3. They were faithful friends in a foreign land. These three young men served under King Nebuchadnezzar in Babylon, but never forgot the God of Israel. King Nebuchadnezzar fled with fury because they would not worship his idol, flung them into flames to burn. And I imagine the king saying, "Burn, baby, burn." Though surrounded by idols, they stood firm in their faith in God. Their faith focused on God and their fellowship with God. Check it out. Check it out. It's a good one, y'all. Let me tell you about their struggle. They faced fire, fear, and fury. Let me say that again. They faced fire, fear, and fury. When they refused to bow, the king became furious and gave an order to turn the furnace up 7 times hotter. What? They were bound with ropes. They were bowled like bowling balls into the fire. My goodness. They were beaten by the blaze and betrayed by Babylon. Lord have mercy. Their faith was tested. Their trust was tried. And their truth was threatened. Am I talking to anybody? Let me tell you about these brothers' success. They experienced protection in the fire, presence in the furnace, and promotion after the flames. Let me help somebody understand. The king saw 4 figures, not 3, walking in the fire, and the 4th looked like the Son of God. The fire did not burn them. Their ropes were burned off, and their faith was blessed. They were delivered, distinguished, and promoted in the kingdom. Their trial turned into triumph. Their crisis became their crown. Let me say that again. Their trial turned into triumph, and their crisis became their crown. My good. That's good, y'all. Yes, it is. Their trust was tested in the heat of hardship. Their trust was tested in the heat of hardship. Am I talking to anybody? But what is the lesson? What is the lesson? God He walks in the fire with those who choose to trust Him and refuse to bow to idols. Let me say it again. God walks in the fire with those who choose to trust Him and refuse to bow to idols. So remember, when you struggle like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, you may not face a fiery furnace like them, but you may face a fiery fight of faith when your convictions are challenged and your courage is criticized, when your commitment is costly, when the world pressures you to bow. What? When culture demands you to compromise, when friends forsake you because your godlike stance. Not my friend, not my friends. When you're tested by trials, when you're targeted by talk or thrown into trouble. Am I talking to anybody? Remember when you succeed, when your faith becomes fireproof, when it's forged in flames, when your stand has brought God's presence, God's power, and God's promotion. When you've stood firm and you've seen the faithfulness of God, when you've held on to holiness and have received help from heaven, oh my God, because you refused to retreat and now receive your reward and recognition because you stayed faithful in the heat of hardship and hard times in your business, in your marriage, in your ministry, in your family, or in your personal pain. When God has walked in the midst of your mess and makes it a miracle. Let me say that again. When God has walked in the midst of your mess and makes it your miracle. Remember the lesson. God walks in the fire with those who choose to trust him and refuse to bow to idols. God walks in the fire with those who choose to trust him and refuse to bow to idols. To God be the glory. I'm out, y'all. Huh?